We're going to build the NFL's dream team for flag football, and Lamar Jackson is my QB1, not Patrick Mahomes. We'll break it down on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome in to the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert, the Data Queen, Michelle Majuk. On today's episode, we're going to talk about some of these rule changes. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers and his decision at the end of the show, but we're going to draft our starting five on offense and defense for the NFL's flag football team after the NFL allowed players to be in the Olympics. Before we dive into all of it, though, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen and being an everydayer here with us at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. So, Michelle, the way that we're going to do this, as you proposed, which was a great idea, of course. Michelle really carrying us in the brain department on this show, all right? But we're going to draft back and forth, and then we'll talk about what would make the perfect team. So, I will not be very hospitable. I will go first. I'm drafting my quarterback, number 1 overall, and I'm taking Lamar Jackson, and my guy Kevin Oestreicher from Locked On Ravens explains why.
For his season last year, Lamar Jackson, number 1 in EPA per attempt at throwing outside the numbers, throwing one outside the pocket, early downs without play action, throwing one kept clean, versus all zone coverage, versus too high in the fourth quarter, when passing within 2.5 seconds inside the red zone. And then also, he was in the top 5 in throwing between numbers, all short and intermediate attempts, when pressured, throwing inside the pocket, third and fourth downs, and throwing with play action.
I mean, what else do you want? Lamar Jackson is awesome. And I will also say this, that with flag football, you're going to need somebody with max mobility back there. Literally max mobility. And Patrick Mahomes has great playmaking talent, and so doesn't Josh Allen. Certainly they have that ability. But neither of them are as great and as dynamic and as agile of a runner as Lamar Jackson. So give me Lamar Jackson to start my NFL Dream Team flag football offense.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. Like, I would have chosen Lamar Jackson first. Josh Allen is my favorite quarterback in the league, but yeah. Josh Allen is so good because he can just truck guys, right?
Yep.
That's not going to work as well in flag football. All they have to do is grab a flag instead of tackle you, right? Like, Josh Allen is so hard to tackle. But I'm also not going with Patrick Mahomes for my quarterback. And I get 2 picks in a row. Let's just both take our quarterback here. We don't have to think too much strategy here. Yeah. I'm going with Jaden Daniels because second best mobile quarterback in the league behind Lamar Jackson. He also has a big arm. He can throw plenty accurate enough. Yes, give me Jaden Daniels. I'm fine with that being my guy.
Yeah, that was honestly my second pick. And if, we're talking about right now because it's more fun to do it right now, but this isn't going to happen until 2028. I would venture to say that Jaden Daniels will be QB1 on that football team, 3 years from now. So I think that makes a ton of sense. Getting away from the quarterbacks now, you want to do 4 receivers, you want to have a running back. I liked a little bit of variety, so I plan to maybe add some guys in there, but it depends on what you do. Your next pick, who are you taking to pair with Jaden Daniels?
This is hard because I don't want to, I'm trying to think of who you're going to pick. But I will say I did take into consideration that it's not till 2028. So I did think about age. I'm just going to go with Jamar Chase because it's hard between Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase just seems like that flag football type, right? And we know how good he is after the catch, and he could do it from anywhere on the field. So I'm going to put Jamar Chase with Jaden Daniels and have fun stopping them.
Yeah, I fully agree. Honestly, whether it's now or whether it's 2028, Jamar Chase would be my next pick. That would be, I said before the season, I thought Jamar Chase was the best wide receiver in the NFL, and I got some pushback because Justin Jefferson had such a great year, and Jamar Chase, and this and that, but no, I'm going with Chase, which means that my next pick has to be the other guy, and it's Justin Jefferson. If you give me Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, which is probably what it will be when it's time to happen, like, we are absolutely cooking. But for these purposes, I would have taken Jamar Chase. I'm going to go straight to Justin Jefferson. I got some other names that I'm looking at. Very difficult for me to decide here. But who I'm going to take next is, I'm going to take Saquon Barkley. That's going to be my next choice. His ability to catch the ball, how shifty he is. I just think Saquon, I saw other running backs that people were hype about with fantasy. There is or flag football, there's nobody in the NFL at running back who I would take over Saquon Barkley. So I'm going to get my guy and get him off the board for the flag football team. So now I'm rocking with Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, and Saquon Barkley. We're cooking.
Well, again, I took 2028 into consideration. So your Barkley is going to be getting kind of old.
Maybe.
But I'm going to, so you have a wide receiver and a running back here. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to decide between Malik Nabers or Brian Thomas Jr.
Malik Nabers is, I think Malik Nabers is more suited for a flag football situation, but Brian Thomas Jr., the size, you may need that.
The size, and I mean, he also has insane speed. There's another, man, this is a hard one. I'm actually just going to take, I'm gonna go with Nabers. I feel like I'm actually drafting this. Like I feel this much stress about it. I'm gonna go with Malik Nabers just because I think having to stop Jamar Chase and Malik Nabers on the same team is just amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That would be very difficult for me. Well, you would have the next pick again. You would have another pick.
I feel like since you already took your running back, I should go with a tight end here. And this is where the age, because George Kittle would be my pick pretty easily. No. And I'm still gonna go with him because I don't really care. I'm going with George Kittle.
I love that. The newly extended man. Okay, because I have a tight end in mind. I personally think my alignment, if I had to build the team myself, would be 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, and then a quarterback. I think that's what I would go with. But if I had to replace one, I would replace the running back with the tight end. Brock Bowers was, I know that's who you're thinking about. I really thought about it, but I'm gonna stick with my original alignment. I am gonna spurn the tight end in Brock Bowers. So I have Lamar, I have Saquon, and I have Justin Jefferson. I'm gonna go with a wide receiver that I think will be very, very helpful to me at that time as well. I'm going to follow your mold. I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. You cannot, this is a little weird, but you cannot run the football at all 5-yard line and in. So in the red zone, you got to throw it. And I want one big-bodied wide receiver. I know the name of the game is speed, but I want one big-bodied receiver. I thought about DK Metcalf because he kind of gives you that right now, and maybe Mike Evans is a little too old, but with 2028, man, I'll go Marvin Harrison Jr. as my other option. And then to round out my team, now that I have both those guys.
You already have 5. You already
have
I
have 5?
Yeah.
I have Lamar, I have Saquon, I have Jefferson.
Bowers.
I have Marvin Harrison Jr. And then I need a 5th.
I thought you took Brock Bowers.
You know what? I'll do it. I'll take Brock Bowers. I'll do it.
He actually wasn't going to be it was going to be Sam Laporta or Kittle, which I think Laporta probably. I think
Laporta was my choice. Yeah.
They're just so good after the catch that they're so dynamic that's why I was going with one of them. I mean, Brock Bowers is a fine pick too. That's a great pick. Now, if I had another choice at wide receiver, I actually would kind of go off the walls here. I might go with Jameson Williams because of his speed and his potential. But I'm gonna take the running back. Because we need one of those, obviously. And I'm going to go with, this is a really hard decision between Jahmyr Gibbs or go with just the speed of Devin Achane, right? Just the insane speed of Achane. Especially because you don't have to worry about the goal line carries. But I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs, especially just because of what a dynamic receiver he is as well. So he can be used both. And Gibbs will still only be 26 years old at the time, 2028. So I love my team. Jaden Daniels, Jamar Chase, Malik Nabers, Jahmyr Gibbs, and George Kittle. Yeah,
that's solid. I got Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Brock Bowers. We're both cooking. I got to be honest with you. I think your team ended up better.
Yeah, I think my team's way better.
I think so. But what I would tell you this is, if we could go off the board, I would change my pick to a player who isn't even in the NFL yet. Give me Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver from Ohio State. By the time 2028 rolls around, he's a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Give me that. I'll go off the board. But I wanted to stay with the players actually in the NFL now. And speaking of a player who's in the NFL now who I think could help, On both sides of the ball, Travis Hunter. Let's talk about defense. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. It's LinkedIn's new feature that can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. If you add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile, you can double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helped them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, Michelle, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We are drafting our flag football teams and who would start on our offense and our defense. Michelle and I did the offensive sides of the ball, and I admit she got me. But I'm ready to come back with a vengeance on the defensive side of the ball. Before we get into it, I do want to thank you again for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. But, Michelle, I went first with the offense. That means you get to go first with the defense. Who will be your number one pick?
And I'm so happy I get this number one pick. It's Micah Parsons. I mean, how easy is that, right?
Yeah.
Great. The speed, the coverage skills, all of that. He can just, play linebacker and be a beast back there doing everything. And also, I feel like he could do something in offense too. If you need to put him in, I feel like he could ball out at receiver or something like that too. So I'm definitely going with Parsons. It's an easy first pick.
I understand that. And look, I'm going to go where we both went quarterbacks one. I'm going to save my linebacker. I know you got yours. I'll bring a linebacker back. Am I going linebacker? I might just go 2 safeties. Who's to know? But I'm going to hit my cornerback positions first. I'm just going to slam them out of the door with my back-to-back picks. I am going to take Travis Hunter.
Okay.
Because, hey, if someone goes down on offense, he could come in and play right there too. And if we're doing this 2028, Travis Hunter could be the best cornerback in the NFL at that time. But I'm going to follow it up with, and again, I didn't do exactly 2028. I was thinking now, but this could work then too. A player who, before the season, I tried to take a victory lap for Jamar Chase. Michelle gets the victory lap for this player, calling him the best cornerback in the NFL when I didn't agree, and she was right. I'm taking Derek Stingley Jr., and our guys over at Locked On Texans talked about him and his improvements.
The walking definition of hard work is Derek Stingley Jr.
No doubt.
And he's one of those guys, John, where you ever seen one of those guys that are just like naturally gifted? Like Derek Stingley Jr. is like naturally gifted at what he does. He's naturally gifted at playing that cornerback position. And he plays the cornerback position with the mindset of a wide receiver. John, you remember how great Richard Sherman was when he was with the Legion of Doom and the Seattle Seahawks?
Yes.
He said one of the reasons why was because, he played wide receiver at Stanford.
Yes.
He said so he knows the routes. And so because Derek Stingley Jr., knows all these routes, I think he might have played a little bit of wide receiver when he was in high school. Don't quote me on that, but I think that he did. But when you walk on a campus and you got to go up against Justin Jefferson, when you got to go up against Jamar Chase, when you got to go up against some other players that have made it into the NFL, you're looking at a Derek Stingley Jr., and he still was the best cornerback in the nation as soon as he stepped on LSU's campus. And now he's battling those guys one-on-one daily, getting himself better. And then you fast forward to the 2023 season. And every day in practice, it's either Nico Collins lining up in front of him. It's either Tank Dell lining up in front of him. It's either Stephon Diggs lining up in front of him. And all he does is just does what he's supposed to do.
Norway ain't got nothing on that. Derek Stingley Jr. is ready.
That hurts. I wanted Derek
I
Stingley
know you
Jr.
did.
bad. I was really hoping you'd go with a Pat Surtain or someone else. Well, I get 2 picks now, and I'm gonna go with Pat Surtain. I guess I'll get the second guy.
Yeah.
But I really, really wanted
No
Derek
Sauce
Stingley.
Gardner?
I know he's in there. Maybe he's gonna be my next pick. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
But I
tip
did
in my
consider him.
picks.
I'm gonna go with Patrick Surtain. I just trust his. I don't know why actually, because Sauce Gardner's great too. But I'm just gonna go with Surtain, and then I'm going with Kyle Hamilton because he can just play all over the field and he's a beast. Yes, I feel like he'd be so good at flag football. So Kyle Hamilton. I knew I couldn't let you try to take him.
No, that's so devastating. Let me just say this for a moment. A big physical safety that can run and play man coverage like that in flag football would just be so awesome. That was like my 5-star write down. All right, listen. I got 2 more picks. I have Travis Hunter. I have Derek Stingley Jr. I am going to go with very similar to my Marvin Harrison Jr. idea or my Brian Thomas Jr. idea or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go with Tyreek Woolen from Seattle. 6'3", close to 6'4", super long arms, and elite speed. So you get a guy that big, that tall. Again, the red zone is pass heavy. You can't run in the red zone. You got to score with a pass. And I think those fade balls and kind of just lobbing it up. The reason why I wanted a big physical wide receiver and how utilitarian I think that could be, that's the same reason I want one big physical, huge ball hawking cornerback. You took Kyle Hamilton away from me, who kind of gives you similar traits in that vein with his size. So I'm going to go with Tyreek Woolen, who may not be considered like a top 5 corner, but I think he's in, maybe the second or third tier of top corners in the NFL. And just his attributes and what they bring to the table, I think would be very effective in fantasy football. So give me Tyreek Woolen. And then I'll take my linebacker. I'll go Fred Warner. Just give me a pass coverage, do it all, awesome linebacker. So yeah, that's my starting 4 right there with 1 more to go.
I did think about taking Fred Warner and having.
Yeah, it was him or Parsons.
So yeah, Fred Warner's a great pick. Love that. Now I think I'll just take Sauce Gardner. So I'll have 2 great corners and then Kyle Hamilton, and then to finish it up, I got to decide: do I want to go with another corner? Do I need another good linebacker?
Yeah, I got a 3-corner look for me. I'm going with 3 of them.
Oh man, no! If you kept Fred Warner out there, I think I would have just went with him. You do
have a rush player in flag football. Like, rush is a thing. You got to start 7 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then you're free to run in and rush. So, having a guy like Parsons, that's why I would have taken Parsons over a guy like even Abdul Carter maybe. I know he's a rookie, but, you got to have rush ability and coverage ability to kind of show different looks. So, Parsons is clearly the best pick that we could have made there.
Now, this next one, I'm trying to decide between someone that is younger and I think has great potential, or going with Micah Fitzpatrick, and I can't decide because I want another safety because then they could play. I do think that you put him out there in offense too if you want to. Micah has the speed, the size to the playmaking ability, but I think we're going with a fun pick here. I think we're going with Jalen Petrie. I just love his playmaking ability. I love everything he could do. So I'm going with Jalen Petrie, and he's going to play safety, corner, wide receiver, whatever we need.
Whatever you want. I like that. See, I was going to go. You haven't even named who I was going to go with next. My last pick is Xavier McKinney from the Green Bay Packers. I just want a deep free safety, ball hawk, just monitor the field and go get them. Like that's what I would want to do. So I think we have similar ideas of what we're looking for here. I think if we're honest, we can look at our teams, but Micah Parsons, Kyle Hamilton, Derek Stingley Jr., probably Pat Surtain, and then you could make an argument for the number 5, but if when they actually put the team together, I would imagine those 4 guys are locks.
And if Travis Hunter hits in the NFL and he's above average wide receiver and corner, he's going to be there, right? Because they need guys to play both sides of the ball. So it's going to Parsons, Hamilton, one of Surtain or Gardner, and I feel like Travis Hunter are pretty strong bets for probably being on this team if they want to be.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Man, this is such a fun exercise. It's so cool to look at some of the best players in the NFL, how this will translate. Cannot wait for the 2028 Olympics to see how this all breaks down. But now let's talk about something that will actually matter in 2025, and that's Aaron Rodgers and his future. And it looks like the Saints are not interested. All right, Michelle, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL. Again, we've talked about our teams on offense and defense. If the NFL, when the NFL, now that it's approved, sends their players to play flag football in 2028. But do want to get on a few topical things here. Aaron Rodgers. I have been making the case now that Aaron Rodgers should maybe approach the New Orleans Saints and see their interest level. But according to the mastermind, Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints, the Saints are not interested.
So Saints taking very seriously the opportunity here to develop a young passer and do something that the Saints have not done for a very, very long time, which is find success with a quarterback that they have drafted. And look, there are players out there that could still be available to the Saints if they decide to pivot at a later time. The Saints reportedly no interest in Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a good thing for this team. I think saddling up Kellen Moore, a 36-year-old first-time head coach with not the strongest demeanor in the world with an Aaron Rodgers, probably not a great idea, probably not a great way to go about things. But we assume that Aaron Rodgers will find his landing spot over in Pittsburgh, as has always sort of been the expectation. So I'm actually glad that the Saints seem to be out on that. Shout out to Jeff Duncan for the report on that kind of, update around the interest there. And they could still pursue other veteran passers after the preseason. I'd keep an eye on the Giants quarterback room, which is kind of overstaffed at the moment. I'd keep an eye on Philly's quarterback room, also a little bit overstaffed at this moment. And I would keep an eye out on the Cleveland Browns quarterback room as well, where they just added 2 new quarterbacks in the draft. And so that means that guys like Jameis Winston, Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco could potentially end up coming available.
I mean, the Saints are tanking, right? Like those names that he just said, and then their 3 young quarterbacks, if they're not interested in Aaron Rodgers even to just see what he has to say because Kellen Moore is, not able to command a locker room? That's a concerning thing that I just heard from Ross. Like, oh, you can't put Aaron Rodgers with Kellen Moore. He doesn't have that kind of demeanor. It's like, okay, that should be like a red flag about a head coach in the NFL, I would think. But I mean, there's no other way to read this, but the Saints truly are going to take their medicine because they are going to be awful.
As they should be. Like, I like it when teams just commit to the being bad, or like maybe they get shocked by Tyler Shook, right? And he's great. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't that great.
More upside than that.
So, yeah, I mean, he's like 900 years old and all that, but like we do not expect him to be good. But you might as well just try it out. And if you stink, great, you get a super early pick to take a higher quarterback next year. Like, this roster is not even playoff contender, let alone Super Bowl contender. Like, if they did sneak into the playoffs, I guess Tyler Shook, that means had to have a good rookie season. Then that's cool. But like the weapons there are nothing elite, with Chris Olave being the wide receiver 1. Like, fine, he's a fine wide receiver, but tons of concussion history too. So if he goes down, then you have Brandon Cooks and Rashid Shaheed, which is a fine speedster. Offensive line is meh. Their defense, I mean, all their best players, Cameron Jordan, Demario Davis, are old now, super old. And the rest, like, they just don't have these great playmakers. They don't have a roster to make it deep. And you might as well see what you can get out of Tyler Shook. Hope that you can, either he's amazing or you just completely stink. And who cares if you completely stink for a year, because you've been stuck in this terrible middle place for how long now?
As long as there's an expectation in the building that, hey, we may not win a ton of games this year, because if they're saying in the building, hey, Kellen Moore, we're ready to win. We hired you to win games. We need to be better than we were last year. Then I would be even more concerned than I already am about what's going on in New Orleans. But if there is that understanding of, hey, we know that this team isn't great. We know that but I haven't necessarily heard that out of New Orleans. Now, I don't have my ear to the ground like Ross does, and maybe that's something I can ask him on tomorrow's show, is what's the expectation in New Orleans right now. But I guess if the expectation is to win games and they don't at least call Aaron Rodgers to see if they can, I think that the Saints situation, you could argue, it at least has a a seat at the table with the Steelers just because the Steelers division is so much harder. I think the Steelers team is better, but the division's so much less winnable. I guess I continue to have a hard time believing that the Saints are just going to roll with Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big believer in Tyler Shough, so I'm like, what are we doing here? But you're right that if this is the plan, then finally New Orleans is actually doing something I agree with.
Yeah, I prefer this to be the plan for them. And if I was a fan, I honestly would prefer it too. I am a Steelers fan, and I would prefer to go into the season to see what they have in Will Howard, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. Just try him out, right?
Yeah.
And if it hits, it hits. Cool. If not, then they finally aren't stuck in the 9 to 10 wins where they get their butts beat in the wild card round. Like, that's not where you want to be stuck for almost a decade now. The Steelers are. So
yeah.
I don't really know what would be a good landing spot for Aaron Rodgers at this point. It seems like it's Steelers or bust for him, but I don't think any team should be taking him right now. The only way I think it would make sense for Aaron Rodgers to land, for a team to sign Aaron Rodgers, is if they're contenders, their star quarterback gets hurt in the training camp, and then you sign Aaron Rodgers because your team is already, there. Yeah. You don't want to waste a year.
I think Aaron Rodgers may be realizing that. I saw a video of him the other day. He's got a squirt gun out. He's having a good time. Like, man, I got a lot of money in the bank. It might be hard for me to go to work. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that, hey, I'm not doing training camp. I'm not doing preseason. I'm not going to be part of your team necessarily. I'll just come in a great situation if one becomes available. That might be the best path for him ultimately. But do want to at least take a moment before the end of the show. I have to admit, I don't find this stuff so interesting that I can build a show around it, but the tush push is not getting banned. It's going to stay. The NFL didn't reseed, but they did say when they go to 18 games eventually, they'll probably have to reseed. Do you feel strongly anyway about the tush push or the reseeding or anything like that?
I'm happy with both decisions. I honestly was like happier than I thought I would. Yeah. When I saw the tush push wasn't banned, I was relieved for some reason. It's not like I care about if the Eagles, get to do this or not, but I think it would have been so lame of the NFL to take that away just because of one team was really, really good at it. Like, other teams can be good at it too. Like, just do it. I mean, do it better. I don't know what to tell you. I thought that was super, I think that it would have been super lame. And then with the reseeding, I'm one of these type of fans that I kind of like the unpredictability of the NFL and the unluckiness and the luckiness of certain things. Mm-hmm. I like that. And sometimes your team gets screwed. Sometimes your team gets lucky. I just think that adds some more fun to watching the season.
It's human element. The chaos is human element.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would all just sit down and watch Madden simulations all the time. But that's not that great because there's not as much chaos, and chaos is what's fun. I am so against robot umpires in baseball or, putting a chip in the ball in football. Anything that's more machine and less man, I say no. I'm fighting AI on my own. Michelle, me against the robots. So,
I'm actually with you, and normally I'm not like that. Normally I'm not like the boomer, like stupid,
Is that what I am? Yeah.
Well, no, Fair enough. Like normally I'm all for the, having more help, especially to take out the mistakes. But for the NFL, I don't know. I kind of just like the way it is. I don't want to mess up too much.
Mistakes add to drama. If everything was perfect, nothing would be as much fun. But with that being said, that's about enough of us today when we get to fighting AI. I know that the show has run its course, but with that being said, that is going to do it for us today, folks. I am your host, the Madman Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, the Data Queen, Michelle Majuk, as we tell you every episode. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there.
Bye, y'all.